Hey, the A's are in the playoffs. They're just not playing for the A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, I'm just thinking here that open needed something else. It needed the A's are in the playoffs, but they're not playing for the A's. Yeah, that's much better. How you doing? I'm Wayne Coy. It's time for another episode of Locked On A's. I've been an A's fan since I knew what a baseball was, and that is, I think, why I have such a passion for being able to get together with you here to talk about our squad. There hasn't been a whole lot to talk about that's in the good column, but maybe things are going to get better. That's all I can say. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We do appreciate that. And if you are an everydayer, make sure that you let us know that too down in the comments there. Happy to hear from you. And of course, if you can't leave it on the comments on YouTube, you can certainly send us a message via what used to be known as Twitter and now is X. Okay. Yeah, it's at Locked On A's. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Okay, it's a moment, but make it more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And get started we will. The A's wrap up their 56th season in Oakland, California, and they finished 50-112. Yes, that is indeed the worst record they've ever had since they've been in Oakland. 56 years, topping the 1979 Athletics for the worst ever, 50-112. Man, that's a lot of losses. Anyway, I guess it could have been worse, right? I mean, they did start off the season on a record pace. They were 10-45 at the end of their first 55 games, which did tie them with the 1904 Washington Senators and, oh yes, the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. That's the team you always hear about, right? Worst 55-game start in MLB history. We were like neck and neck with them for a while. First half record ended up being 21-60, and they were on a pace at that point to be able to break the modern-day record for losses in a season, which, of course, was set by the 1962 New York Mets, first year of their existence with Casey Stengel. But they escaped that because they did have a pretty decent, by comparison, second half. Only 29-52 in the second half. In the end, 50-112, that's where we end up at. Yes, dead last in the American League West. In fact, they finished 40 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros. And if you think, wow, that's really a lot of games. Think about it this way. The next team above them, the LA Angels, the A's were 23 behind them. Okay. 40 out of first place, 23 out of fifth place. So yeah, not good. Big questions as we roll into the off season, of course, are number one, will MLB ownership actually give the A's a green light to move to Las Vegas? That's something we don't know and still to be determined. Of course, when and if they do vote, we're expecting it to be in November, probably will be at the owners' meetings in Arlington, Texas, but there's no guarantee. And we just heard from the relocation committee, or at least one member of the committee who said, yeah, we're meeting, we're getting together and we're planning on doing it again very soon. So we'll let you know when we're ready. Until then, can't tell you much. In fact, can't tell you anything. And that's the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, who want to move, by the way, or at least threatening to, if they don't get the money they want from their local politicians and people that live there in the Milwaukee area. Same thing's going on with the Kansas City Royals owner, who also happens to be on the same committee. So you got two owners who are both looking to potentially shake down their communities to get money to help them build stadiums, and they're going to be the ones to vote on the A's possible relocation to Las Vegas. Yeah, we're not talking about a stacked deck or anything. Anyway, for sure, I think 2024 they'll be playing in Oakland because they have a lease for another year. Where they play after that depends. I mean, if they do approve Vegas, you still got to answer that question. 2025, 2026, 27, maybe even 28. Because the talk was, well, if they could get the relocation approved before the end of this year, then they ought to be able to open by the 2028 season. But they've only got 1 year left on their lease in Oakland. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if indeed that stadium does get built. And as I have discussed right here on this particular podcast before, the options that are available to the A's, they're not the greatest, okay? Because one would be that they just come to Las Vegas and they play at the AAA stadium, Las Vegas ballpark, where the Aviators play. Well, the issue with that is it's certainly a great AAA facility, but it's not a major league facility. So you'd have to do some things. I know the light stanchions aren't up to par. Probably not going to get the union to approve day games where it's 117 degrees. So what do? I don't know. Can't really put a dome on the place. Certainly would need more seats. Oh, and then there's the whole clubhouse issue. So I don't think it's a real strong contender. In fact, I'd cross it off the list. Well, then there's San Francisco and the idea that they might want to, share Oracle with the Giants, who are, last I checked, still the Giants. And, there's no love lost there. I just don't think that's going to happen. Sacramento and Salt Lake City don't make sense either, really, because, well, again, a lot of it has to do with the television contract once they move out. So I'm kind of back to Oakland, where they're already at. And that would mean, of course, renegotiating a new extension if indeed they're going to go to Vegas. And then there's always the possibility that they stay in Oakland. So all of that's to be determined. We don't know. We're going to have to just hold on and find out. Playoffs. Yeah, they're underway. In fact, already some finals from today, which we'll talk about. But first, FanDuel, we got to talk about them because they got something very cool for you if you're a football fan. And who isn't? Here you go. You're 3 weeks into the season. And right now, America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, wants you to get involved. How about this? $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's right. A $5 bet gets you $200 guaranteed bonus bets. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, I have to tell you there's no better time to do it than right now. Of course, you can bet the point spread. You can bet the player props. You can do the overs, the unders. It's all there for you. FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with them. I mean, it's not too late. I know we're 3 weeks in, but it's not too late. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Okay, we want to talk about playoffs, and watching them, which I got to tell you is kind of bittersweet, really, because, well, you got some great matchups, right? But every single one of them has got an element of sadness that comes with it if you're an A's fan. And the reason why is you're watching these games being played by teams who have a ton of our former players on their roster. Former A's players. You had a dozen teams in the hunt, and out of those 12 teams, well, you did until today, but out of those 12, 20 former Athletics on the 26-man rosters of these teams. Let's break it down. Philadelphia Phillies, Christian Pache. Atlanta Braves, Sean Murphy, Matt Olson. Ooh, that's going to leave a mark. Arizona Diamondbacks, Jace Peterson. LA Dodgers, Max Muncy, the older of the two. We had him first. Florida Marlins, Joey Wendell. Jesus Luzardo and A.J. Puck, of course. Milwaukee Brewers, Josh Donaldson, Mark Canha. Houston Astros, Kendall Graveman. Toronto Blue Jays, Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett. Baltimore Orioles, Cole Irvin, Danny Colum, and Shintaro Fujinami. Tampa Rays, Jake Diekman. Never a fan, got to tell you. Sorry, Jake. Minnesota Twins, can you say Sonny? I say Sonny, you say Gray. Sonny Gray. Texas Rangers, of course, Marcus Semien and Jonah Heim. Okay, so all of those players belong to the A's at one point, and most of them in recent history. So now we're, except for like Josh, right? It's been a while. And I don't mean Reddick. I mean Donaldson. Out of all of those players, you'd have, I think, a pretty dang good team if you were to take some of those players plus, you're going to fill out a 26-man roster with those players. If you added some of the homegrown talent to kind of fill up because you get 26, we're at 20, I think I had there. So add in Nick Allen, Tyler Soderstrom, of course, homegrown, Zach Geloff, who was fantastic in his short amount of play this year, Jonah Bride, Lawrence Butler, Seth Brown, and what the heck, Mason Miller. Okay? Throw them all into the pile. And I will offer this up. Christian Pache, I think we got to take him off the roster because if we're doing this, it's all fantasy anyway. But if you're going to say we still have Matt Olson, then we would have never gotten Pache because he was part of the Olson deal. So he's out. Again, wasn't a big fan anyway. And, of course, no Esty Ruiz because he came in a trade. So we're only talking about homegrown talent to fill out the roster. I need a drink. Just thinking about this, I need a drink. And by the way, this portion of the show is brought to you by, I can't show you the label. I'd get in trouble. Did you see it? Making the money stretch. That's all I got to tell you. Rhymes with 7-Eleven. Okay, projected batting order. Since it's all fantasy, I got Zach Geloff leading off, playing second. Mark Canha in right field, batting second. Marcus Semien at short. I know he plays second now, but he's our shortstop, batting third. Matt Olson, cleanup hitter, playing first base. Josh Donaldson or Max Muncy, take your pick, DH, batting fifth. Sean Murphy behind the plate, batting sixth. Seventh, Matt Chapman at third. Eighth, Seth Brown playing left field. And then ninth, Lawrence Butler playing center field. Okay, and on the bench, we got Joey Wendell, Tyler Soderstrom, Jonas Bride Anheim, Nick Allen, and Jace Peterson. Not bad, huh? Okay. Then, to go along with that starting lineup, of course, we have a pitching rotation, which I think, compare this to anything that's actually in the playoffs. Okay? Playoffs? Jesus Luzardo, Sonny Gray, Chris Bassett, Cole Irvin, and Mason Miller. That's your five-man rotation, but we're in the playoffs, so maybe we don't even need five. Maybe we need four. Put Mason in the bullpen. Okay, so it's Luzardo, Gray, Bassett, and Irvin. Maybe the Dodgers, right? But other than that, I think that's the best rotation that would exist in the playoffs. A.J. Puck in the bullpen, along with Jake Diekman, not a fan, Danny Colum, and Kendall Graveman. I don't know who closes there because we've got A.J. Puck, we've got Kendall Graveman, one of the two. And yeah, no Trevor May, because remember, we signed him as a free agent. Okay, so that's the team. And I just ask you, let me put it to you this way. If that team, which is our little fantasy team made up of people who were playing for the A's and have, if that team were in the postseason, it would do well, right? It would go far, right? Which just makes the whole thing even more bittersweet. So, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? We got news and notes, and we'll talk about those in a second. But first, bird dogs. Johnny is a joker. He's a bird. He's got some really cool shorts now. He's a dog. Bird dogs. I wear mine. I got the shorts and the long pants, by the way, because they're so good. They're stretchy. They're comfortable. They also, and I don't even know if they want us talking about this, but I think they do. They don't stink, okay? Unlike, some other shorts that you might pay a lot of money for at other places where, let's just be honest, you go work out in them, not so great, right? But bird dogs fix the issue. They have got the anti-stink sweat-wicking fabric. That's the actual name for it. That keeps you cool and keeps you dry. And if your area isn't sweaty, well, then you don't stink. So you follow me there? Okay. Besides that, they were able to figure out a way to make the shorts fit you better than regular shorts do. Because, sometimes They're stiff. They just don't stretch with you. That's not the case with bird dogs. Bird dogs pretty much made for comfort, okay? Once you wear them, you're not going to wear anything else. Again, I've got the longer version and I got the short version. Any occasion, cover them. birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. Or you can enter the promo code, which is lockedonmlb at checkout. And then you get a free Bird Dogs water bottle, which I should have now instead of this, convenience store thing I'm drinking out of. I've got one. It's just in the other room. Take my word for it. It's a great bottle. And you want one, believe me. And you want Bird Dogs. Once you check out the Bird Dogs, once you put them on, I promise you're not going to want to take them off. That's a guarantee. So get over there, check them out, birddogs.com. You're going to love them. Okay, 28 years old, outfielder Cody Thomas, A's property until today. Cody has announced that he's actually going to elect to become a free agent. Again, he's 28, but what gets you a little bit is he had a heck of a year playing for the Aviators. Listen to these stats. Hit .301 at AAA Las Vegas, 23 homers, and 109 RBI. And, I know we've got a pretty stacked outfield, but I would have liked to have seen him in the mix in spring training. Probably not going to happen now. He wants to be a free agent. All right. Had a couple of looks at the big league level and didn't really disappoint. 78 plate appearances, hit .250. I don't think enough of a test. I don't think we had a big enough sample size. But wish him well anyway. Cody Thomas headed to free agency. All the best to you, Cody. And now a couple of question marks for the A's as it relates to free agents, which would be Trevor May or he may not. Sorry. It was sitting there. What was I supposed to do? Trevor May, and Tony Kemp. So let's start with Trevor May. He's 34, okay? He has saved 33 games in his career, of which 21 of those 33 came this year, 2023, for the A's. Keep in mind, beginning of the year, anxiety, just having issues, right? The yips, whatever you want to call it. He wisely got good care and good treatment. And boy, did he turn everything around. When he came back, he was Trevor May. He was the guy we were hoping to get when we gave him the richest contract on the team. That's not saying much, but paid him more than anybody else by far this year. And 21 saves. And I think he was like 20 of his last 22 or something like that. So a nice stretch run for him. I just think he's going to want more money than we're going to be able to pay. And if that's the case, again, as we said with Cody Thomas, wish you well. We're going to have to address the whole closer issue, though, for sure. Now, Tony Kemp's another story. He's a roster spot that maybe you're thinking, well, we've got so many of these kids coming up, we can't really afford to waste the spot. I would say to you, though, he's been the model athletic. I mean, the guy 4 years in a row has been with the A's and has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award, which, gives you that award, or even if you get nominated, you're being nominated because you're great in your community, which Tony and his wife both definitely are. And he provides veteran leadership. And you got a team full of kids here. So to have somebody that's, in the clubhouse, that's providing that leadership, that can play outfield, play infield. His defense is superb. Offensively, 209, 359 at-bats in 2023. So, yeah, we could definitely improve that. But, after 9 years in the big leagues, he's got something to offer. So I think the door's probably closed on Tony Kemp. Maybe not to the degree that it is on Trevor May, but, stranger things have happened. So it could happen where he does come back to the A's. We'll just have to wait and see. Happy birthday. In fact, he's 79 today. Former A's manager and Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Tony La Russa, who didn't just manage the A's, he played for the A's, starting in 1963 for the KC A's, and then, of course, for the Oakland A's from 1968, their first year there, until 71. Then he became a coach and then a manager, and, of course, he managed the A's probably better than anybody else ever has from 1986 to 1995. Hello, Dick Williams on the phone. Sorry. Okay, maybe Dick Williams. he's another Hall of Famer. And I know Bob Melvin is in the conversation too. But the difference between Bo Mel and Tony is Tony won a World Series. And Tony won 3 consecutive American League championships, 1988, 1989, and 1990. That was a really horrible World Series, but whatever. It was a great season. And 88, Kirk Gibson. Other than that, I think we would have won that World Series. They definitely won in 89. They beat the Giants. And, of course, the skipper for all of that was Tony La Russa. Unanimous selection to the Baseball Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee back in 2014. And he's celebrating his 79th birthday today, 79 years young. Happy birthday, Skip. Hope it's a good one. Well, off-season, we got questions. Oh, yes, we do. We're like Radio Shack. We've got answers, maybe, hopefully. Speculation regarding the roster, of course. Will they hang on to the handful of players that showed some promise? And I'm talking about people like Brent Rooker, Seth Brown to a degree. These are guys, Paul Blackburn, that you think we would hang on to, but there's a possibility they end up being trade bait, because churn and burn. It's what John Fisher and the A's do. Will they actually spend some money on free agents? I think to a degree you have to, at least you're supposed to. I know we haven't spent much, but it would be interesting to see if they take some of that revenue share and the fact that they've got the lowest payroll in baseball and, actually put it back into the product. Don't hold your breath, but it could happen. And then another big question, which I don't know if it was a big question, but people are asking it. Will Mark Kotsay return? And you may say, well, he's been here for 2 seasons and he's handled these kids about as well as you can expect. And that would be a fair statement. However, both teams lost over 100 games last year. And then, of course, this year to an even greater degree. Well, it has, I think, less to do with any of that and more to do with the fact that there is, I think, what many would consider to be a prime opening right across the bay. San Francisco Giants, of course, let Gabe Kapler go, and that means they're talking to people, and that could include Kotz. He might, he said himself that if there was a conversation to be had, he would certainly have it. And, I learned long ago, opportunity knocks. Hello. You got to answer the door. So I wouldn't blame him if he at least got an interview. And if he didn't come back and he went to the Giants, again, I think, you'd understand to whatever degree. I mean, I think that the A's that we have now are not going to be as bad next year as they were this year. But I do believe that we're still a few years away from any sort of serious postseason conversation. Anyway, I have to wait and see on all of that. But lots to talk about during the offseason. We're certainly going to be here with you. Hope that you're an everydayer. If you're not, why don't you become one? Just let us know, though, so we know down in the comments. And same thing, if there's anything you want to make sure we talk about. Relocation is on everybody's mind, of course. And then what do we do during the typical hot stove season? It's kind of hard to think about the roster or anything baseball related when you still don't know if they're coming back to Oakland beyond 2024. But hopefully we'll get an answer to that soon. We'll take a look at the revamped playoff brackets because things have changed even as recently as today, but we'll save all of that for tomorrow. Who is still in the hunt for a World Series ring in 2023? I don't know. Well, I kind of do, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to save that, and we'll find out for sure on tomorrow's episode. One thing I definitely know is we'll be locked on A's every single day. You can count on that. I'm Wayne Coy. Thanks for being here. Till next time, keep on swinging.